Good morning. Here we are in St. Louis, more or less, virtually or not. This is the NRG 20K Team Showdown. So this is a big deal for us. Thank you for joining us this morning. I'm Joe Lissette. I'll be hosting coverage all weekend long. We've got Pioneer, Modern, and Legacy for you all day today with teams. We've got 105 teams in attendance, I believe, so 315 players battling it out. Today, you're going to see 7 rounds of Swiss and then the quarterfinals tonight. The top 4 and the finals will be finished off tomorrow morning before the 5K starts tomorrow into the afternoon. So we've got magic for you all weekend long. We're happy to have you with us. I'm pleased to be joined by Julian Knob here this morning. So let's go ahead and pop him in. There he is. Good morning. Hey.
Hey, Chell. How's it going, man? Good morning. Good afternoon,
Well,
I guess,
yeah,
from
I
here.
guess it's not morning for you, but it is very much morning for me and for the tournament players. So yeah, we've got all the constructed formats. I mean, more or less. I mean, no one really plays standard at this point, I don't think. But we got Pioneer, Modern, Legacy. Now, you're a Legacy aficionado expert. How are you, like, if you're playing a team event with us today, you're sitting the Legacy seat. Is that even negotiable?
No, it's not.
Okay.
If I could sit down, like I'm very comfortable in Modern. I looked a little bit into Pioneer. I'm looking forward to learning even more about it today. But from what I can tell, Modern and Pioneer are probably even more balanced than Legacy right now. So I'm pretty excited to see those in action.
Yeah, well, I got you covered. I have been playing an absolute ton of Pioneer for the last 2 months, and I'm very much enjoying it, I have to say. The format seems fairly a good amount of variety in it. There's a lot of decks that are within the couple of tiers, and we can see a lot of different things here today. So I'm excited about that. I'm looking forward to it. I've got a lot of players in the house today. A lot of people on the leaderboard. Leaderboard points do matter. This being the showdown, more points on the line. And this is there's 2 events left in season 2 for Nerd Rage. This event, and then next month in Minneapolis. Then we'll lock up some invites for our season 2 championship invites. So here you can see the upcoming schedule. This is the season 2 schedule. So you can see that a couple events already in the books. Over there on the bottom left, you can see we're in St. Louis, actually Collinsville. We have our 20K Showdown 5K Modern event tomorrow. And then next month of September, to finish off the season, we have Modern and Pioneer. And that will lock up a few more players for the season champion, for the year-long championship, which we're quite excited about. We can go ahead and put up the leaderboard right now, or the season 3 events. Well, let's go ahead and unveil the season 3 events so you can see what's actually coming for the rest of the year. This is, I just newly locked in. So we have the October event in Newark, Ohio. It's another team, Pioneer, Modern, Legacy, with Sunday Modern event. So same as today, but not a showdown. So price pool not quite as high. Followed up, there's 2 events in November. One in Fort Wayne, the beginning of November. Another team event with Pioneer this time as a Sunday event. And then the end of November, standalone, I believe it's our first Pioneer 10K standalone and Modern on Sunday. And then you can see the last event of the year in Louisville at NebulaCon. So that'll be a new thing for us. Moving a little bit further south for the warmer weather, as it will be December. And that will be a showdown weekend, Modern event, and Pioneer. So we're happy to be able to announce the rest of the year-long schedule for you. And as the players are getting ready for the first round today, we can see the season 2 leaderboard. So the top couple players on this list at the end of next month's event will lock up slots for the end of the year. You can see the players, some of them, many of whom you'll see in action. You see Joseph Bernal already locked up his spot. And if we have the year-long leaderboard, we can go put that up for a moment. And you can see how things are shaking out, who is doing well on the air, who you might want to follow this weekend. You see Joseph Bernal up top there. Piper Powell and Andrew Ellenbogen also already qualified for the end of the year. So if things ended now, Zach Allen, Zoe Riederman, Adam Moss-Moses all looking very good. I believe Christoph Schlama also would get in at the moment, although we haven't seen too much of him since the early part of the year.
It feels like whenever you put these on, Joseph Bernal is everywhere. Like
Right, I
any
know.
leaderboard you put up, anything like top 8 here, top 8 there, it's always Joseph Bedell. Is he like the superstar of the series?
He is this year. Last year it was Will Kruger who was always on top of every list, and this year Joseph Bernal has supplanted him, and he has. We'll see. I mean, he has already locked up his slot, so the points don't mean anything. The further points don't mean anything else to him this year. But of course, it's nice to be on top, and the overall leader at the end of the year does have some privileges at the championship, so that may be something he's after. He is going to be in our round 1 feature match alongside his teammates Matt Hoey and Sam Kuprewicz, facing off against Connor Mullally, Maxx, Kominowski, and Theodore Jung. So that is going to be our first round match. Players are getting ready to go. I don't know which format we're starting out with, but so the way things are going to work here is we're not going to waste too much time or any potentially on deck lists, going through sideboarding options. Julian and I aren't going to debate, well, should this come in? Should that come in? What goes out based on what the opponent's facing? What we're going to do is when players go to sideboarding, we're just going to jump to another match. We have 3 formats in play. Sounds like we're going to start with Modern. Let's go ahead and go under the table. So we're going to just have you Magic for you all day long, except for apparently the first couple rounds of the tournament, because that's how things go. When you're starting things off, there's little kinks to work out, but here we go. So we're into the tournament. We're playing Modern, and I didn't even get the feature match correct. So here we have Larry Fields, Steven Dykman, and Andrew Wolthius versus Scarlett, Chen, Ashlyn Johnson, and Rodney Bedell. So the surprises keep on coming. But what do we have here? We're playing Modern. We're watching Team of Rhinos versus Golgari Yawgmoth, and it looks like the Rhinos deck played by Steven Dykman, so the names are reversed. Maybe we can switch that up. Has a couple 4/4s in play. Ashlyn Johnson looks like we started off with a Grist and an Insect token with a Yawgmoth that's in the graveyard. So
Yeah,
we'll
this
see how
farms
things
tokens
develop here.
galore, right? Who needs real creatures when you can just like attack with tokens all day long?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, they're big tokens too. It's not like these are little 1/1 elf tokens. Come on, get out of here. These are 4/4 Rhinos.
You know, at my first LGS, I noticed that some people were trading the tokens at very high value, and I never understood that until I watched them play. And they literally put a token into play from their hand on the first turn, like an 8/8 worm. It's just like you can put it in.
It just drops in for free.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
I mean, that's pretty good. I mean, yeah, it's. I mean, you don't even have to sleeve them, right? You just have an 8/8 in your hand for free. That's awesome. And you guys,
Like a companion.
yeah. I guess you can get trumped by all manner of things. Anyway, so the players are probably. It looks like they played a few turns and then they were told to stop and wait for us, and now they're waiting for us while we're here. So yeah, kinks to get worked out in live Magic, but we'll get things rolling momentarily.
What do you feel about these two decks? I saw that Golgari Yawgmoth won. Oh, it's only Golgari. Okay, I thought sometimes Splash the Red won a reasonably big tournament on Magic Online a couple of weeks ago. It feels like it's one of those decks that really gets to play Magic, right? I think every time I'm in coverage, I feel I want to emphasize that because that's really something I appreciate in a deck when you can just even casually sit down and just like play a lot of good stuff creatures and have fun with your opponent that way.
Yeah, no, I think this deck is continually fairly impressive. It does a good job of controlling the board a lot of the time, and then it has a combo finish that it can assemble. I mean, it's not like a guaranteed win a lot of the time, as it does depend on life points and things like that. And we see here, we saw Grist get attacked to death, and then we're seeing an outburst, I think, into an additional set of Rhinos.
Yeah,
And
it feels like you're trading off the explosiveness of something like Living End to be a little like more resilient, but also not getting the big payoff and getting Living End off. But thus far, this looks pretty good, right? For well, it says 4-color Blink here, but I
yeah,
think it's
let's
yeah.
just go ahead and ignore the whole bottom section of the screen right now while production gets us worked out, because these are obviously the wrong archetypes, and I don't believe they're the right player names either. I think we had the correct names originally.
Okay, we're piecing this together, but at least this is the correct tournament, right?
It is right. Yeah, we are in St. Louis. We have the correct commentary names. That's pretty much the most important thing as far as I'm concerned. And yeah, so the players are
Oh, trading more tokens.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, so get a couple
This is the
more.
tournament of tokens.
I mean, if our Rhinos player only came equipped with 2 Rhinos to the tournament, I don't know. I think that's you gotta think more highly of your chances. You gotta get at least like 4 or 6 of them with you.
I mean, technically you could use dice, right? But yeah, here we go.
Yeah, maybe. It looks like they're actually using the provided tokens, so that's appreciate that. They're using the ones that are easy to identify, the correct ones. So we see the insect on the left and the rhinos on the right, and I mean,
Kind of
not,
interesting. From the Yawgmoth side, right? It feels like you're the super synergistic deck, and you have to beat what's basically the brute force of just vanilla rhinos coming
mhm,
at you every single turn from now on. So you definitely need to piece something together.
yeah. No, that is a the Charlotte's Agent, I believe, is the other card on there with the rhinos. But yeah, so 16-16, and okay, here's a 2-1, and we kind of frequently laugh about the size of the creatures in the Yawgmoth deck, as they tend to do impressive things when combined together with Yawgmoth, and on their own, they're kind of unimpressive, and they're great at blocking and holding off stuff like Ragavan, but against trampling rhinos, not so much.
We just like take the 16 damage here. Probably like more like 18 even, depending on whether you block.
Um,
Guess
it
you just gotta
looks,
swallow it up, right?
yeah, looks like it with the Blood Artist in play. The Yawgmoth player doesn't have to worry so much about their life total if they are able to get Yawgmoth in play, as the Blood Artist will negate the life loss. So let's see if this comes together here. Okay, Quarter Calling, that's a good place to be in. And Force
Ah,
of Negation will put the kibosh on that. And all right, so that is going to be game 1 for the Rhinos. And we're going to go ahead and switch over to Pioneer while these players get ready for game 2. So moving right in, and now we have we might actually have the names and archetypes correct now, as we do see a modern was Ashland versus Steven Dykman with Yawgmoth versus Rhinos. That is correct. So maybe we're correct here with Rakdos. Oh, okay. This is changing fast. It's changing faster than I can keep up with. But we do have um, black red versus, it looks like blue red Arclight here in Pioneer. So there are a couple black red decks in Pioneer. Something that's notable about Pioneer, I think, is that even within color combinations, there are multiple various decks that don't overlap enough to be considered like the same archetype. But we do have here blue red Charter Course after Ledger Shredder, which is going to allow a connive, and then the Charter Course itself, and we see Arclight Phoenix hitting the bin. And the point of this deck, if you're unfamiliar with Pioneer, is to get some Arclight Phoenixes in the graveyard, cast 3 spells in the turn. Perhaps we can pop up Arclight Phoenix, and then get them into play for free. And here is a Treasure Cruise, a card that the Legacy players.
yeah. When I was going over like what's good in Pioneer, and I kept looking at things, I'm like, what? You guys banned expressive iteration, I believe, but we can still do like treasure cruise in this format. But I guess like the way the format is set up with a lot less cantrips and like fetchlands and stuff that we do in Legacy, it's still a very good card, I would think, but not as completely busted, right? You're not casting it like on turn 3 almost every single game.
Right, right. It is more fair in Pioneer. So we did see coming up a little shy there as far as getting the Arclights into play, and we did see the Temporal Trespass in the graveyard. So it looks like Scarlett, if we do have the players' names correct now, is on free turns here. So the Treasure Cruise, not every list in Pioneer even plays 4 Treasure Cruise, but because Temporal Trespass is the other Delve card you can see there, is a Time Walk. And combined with Galvac Iteration, sometimes leads to multiple turns being taken in a row. So the Rakdos deck here, played potentially by Larry Fields, just kind of a bystander here, sitting and watching with, Fable the Mirror Breaker in play, and a functioning deck that wants to play removal and then slowly edge ahead on cards. Treasure Cruise is not ideal for this deck to play against.
Yeah, just your casual double time walk here, right? I guess that's just how the matchup breaks down. You keep throwing your resources at the opponent, but once they start actually casting their spells, you just sit back and have to hope for the best.
Yeah, it's not generally this bad, but or it doesn't get much worse. I would say the Scarlett here with the a couple extra turns and really needs to though get the arc lights into play now because when Larry starts actually taking turns again, Arclight Phoenix. I mean, I'm sorry, Ledger Shredder is a card that can be killed without extreme difficulty. Here's a Lightning Axe taking down Token. Pitch. You see, would you ever see that? Treasure Cruise is like, oh, we get discard a card. We'll get rid of Treasure Cruise, no problem.
So yeah, I think we see one arc like Phoenix in the graveyard right now, right?
Mhm.
So that alone is not too impressive, but seeing that Larry has no creatures on the field right now, I think he's about to get a token from Fable of the Mirror Breaker, by the way, another multi-format all-star. Like we are
Mhm.
seeing this card in basically every format as a far right now. I think this is one of the coolest printings they've had in many years even.
Yeah, I mean, we could. Yeah, you're right. We could realistically see this in all three formats today. It is played in Legacy as well. So Arclight does come across finally, and Larry Fields actually gets a turn. Fable will roll up to Chapter 2, which is a nice effect to rummage potentially twice.
Yeah, but that's also I feel like the downfall of these more like typically like black red or even rock colored decks where you end up sitting on your discard space when you're behind on board
Mhm.
and you try to like find your way back into the game while the SpongeBob sleeves are beating up on you and you're taking something like 6 a turn, so the game could be over pretty quickly unless you, I don't know, maybe we found something for 4 mana, I guess.
Well, there are okay. This is a big score. So this is we have it listed as Rakdos combo, and I was skeptical of that, but yeah, this is not a typical grinded out mid range deck. We are gonna probably see perhaps potentially some big trampling worms. I'm not sure what the creatures that are getting pulled out are. You can see a Fire Prophecy in hand, which is another card that would key in the fact that this is not a typical black red mid range deck or the black red sacrifice deck, and another Temporal Trespass for Scarlett
Do we
with
have the flashback to just take 2 extra turns?
well, we've got another Arclight Phoenix just to be hard cast here. So this is gonna load up an attack for 9, it looks like. Make that 10. And with 2 shots at it, it looks like more than Larry Fields can handle.
What
All
can
right.
we really do for 1 mana here?
All
Or I
right.
guess we have the
So
treasure token, so we get a little
right.
bit more.
Yeah. So Fire Prophecy is gonna shoot down an Arclight Phoenix and cycle 1 card for Larry. So that's still 7 coming across, and with another turn coming, this is still lethal.
This
And
is
even more so lethal with all the Storm Giants. All right, so that is going to be 1 point to the good for the team of Scarlett, Chen, Ashlyn Johnson, and Rodney Bedell. And let's go back to Modern, where they're getting ready for game number 2. We're actually going to get started from the beginning this time. That's excellent. And another multi-format, I don't know about all-star, but Dryad Arbor in play here.
Yeah, how do you feel about going turn 1 Dried Arbor, right? Whenever I do that, I feel like, oh, my hand is so good. Please don't have a removal spell, please, please, please.
Right.
And I just want to untap into it.
Yeah, no, it's Leading on Dryad Arbor is pretty scary.
Oh,
Although I was
wow.
going to say Team of Rhinos not having, many cards that cost less than 3, but Fury does take it out there. So
That's
Ashlyn,
quite a fury, right?
yeah,
You're 2 for 1 in yourself, but on the upside, you basically get to negate your opponent's first land drop. In a way, it almost feels like it reverses the play draw, right?
yeah, yeah, it does actually. You're absolutely right. You skip your first turn. I'm now down a card. So, so yeah, so excuse me, Steven Dykeman effectively going first here, but Ashlyn pulling ahead on mana anyway with Wall of Roots, which is actually out of range of Fury.
Out of Roots is so cool. I just love that a card that has basically been seeing play for almost a quarter of a century now still
Yeah.
shows up in competitive formats these days.
I can't believe you can even actually say quarter of a century regarding Magic, and it's actually like a legitimate thing to say because the game has been longer than that. I believe isn't the 30th anniversary ceremony tournament in a few months later this
Yeah, I think in
year.
Las Vegas, right?
Yeah, yeah, it is in Las Vegas. Another one
You're
of
gonna
these.
be there?
I am not gonna make it out for that,
Yeah, too
but
far for me as well.
I will. I may be interested to check in and see if that beta draft is broadcast. I may be willing to watch that. That's exciting stuff that you just don't see realistically ever.
Is everybody gonna wear gloves or something?
You know, at the last one they did, I think 5 years ago, they did give the players all gloves, which at the time seemed weird, but after the pandemic now, lots of people have worn gloves at various points the last few years. So now maybe it'd be something that you're more accustomed to.
Cool. So yeah, we're seeing young Wolfie, and from what I understand, right, all of these creatures, we eventually can get to a point where we can actually combo off with Yawgmoth, right? And then if
Yes.
you have, let's say, Blood Arthurs in play, we can combo out the opponent. So what's the most realistic scenario? I think we can do it on turn 4.
Mhm.
Technically, I guess we might be able to do it on turn 3. I'm not so sure about that. Whereas on the other side, Team of Rhinos, probably not too much interaction going on, especially against creatures. I guess since we're fetching here, maybe we're just gonna put 8 power into play and pass the turn again.
Yeah, I mean, that's generally what this deck wants to do. They Steven did have the Fury to interact with early, probably earlier than he expected, as you hopefully are going to be something like a 2-for-1, not killing your opponent's land, but whatever opportunity presents itself. And here we have Charlotte's Agent cascading into
Quite
Crash
the surprise, I
Footfalls.
guess.
Yeah,
Oh.
and we see here some of the hard to conceal your deck list from your opponent when you're playing this deck, as Ashlyn can see quite a bit of what's going on here. As
Know what I like
Steven,
about Wall of Roots here, by the way?
sure,
Like, if we
it,
never use it, we can actually negate one of the Rhinos. We can just,
yeah,
like, sit back and keep blocking it forever.
yeah, absolutely, that definitely matters too. Uh, the Team of Rhinos deck, I mean, it does have a decent amount of removal, but its offense consists basically of these Rhinos, and if you can handle one of them or even two of them, it's not going to do anything fancy. It's just going to hope to acquire more, which it can do as a third of Steven's deck now becomes the top becomes the new bottom. And Ashlyn will tap here with one Undying creature. And you were talking about, yeah, with Yawgmoth, 2 Undying creatures and Yawgmoth is basically pay a life, draw a card as many times as you want. And then with Blood Artist in play, then that becomes don't pay a life and draw a card, and your opponent loses a life. So that is one of the ways that can just combo out and win the game.
Slightly
However,
improved Chakmoth bargain.
yeah, yeah, just a little bit. However, it does take a few cards to assemble. No land drop here for Ashlyn, as the Dried Arbor was dispatched and may have been counting on that. We could still see a Chord for 2 here, as the Wall of Roots counts effectively for 2 mana on Chord of Calling, but
Unless you're playing on Magic Online.
does
Apparently,
that
this
not?
deck still doesn't work.
Oh, wow, that seems significant. All right, so here we have big attack coming in. Does the Wall of Roots block? I mean, Ashlyn may not be able to risk losing it here.
Is there a violent outburst, by the way, in Steven's hand?
Uh,
Because that could
yes,
actually
there
take out
is.
the Wall of Roots, even if it blocks.
You're correct about that. All right, so Ashlyn is going to cast an Endurance here, putting a counter on the Wall of Roots.
I
Shuffle
guess the
back.
idea is we could, like, double block with Young Wolf and,
Yeah,
yeah,
that is what we're going to see.
just hope that there's no creature removal. Otherwise, we 2-for-1 ourselves, of course.
What, 2-for-1? Well, Young Wolf doesn't die. It comes back anyway. It just gets bigger. All right,
Let's see.
here
Here's
is,
the violent outburst. Just
yeah.
take some extra damage.
So an extra damage will come across and 2 more Rhinos. So Ashlyn will be under quite a bit of pressure next turn with not a whole lot to work with here.
But I could get the hang of this Rhinos deck. Like, it's all about the Rhinos.
Yeah,
Like, I
it is.
think if it didn't give away everything that you're playing, like if this was an open decklist tournament, which I think it isn't,
Mhm.
we could be able to just, like, theme our entire deck with, like, Rhino sleeves, you sit down in a Rhino suit, have a Rhino playmat.
A
Just
Rhino
like one of the
suit.
cooler creature types.
What would a Rhino suit even look like? You could wear a
But
you
somebody
okay.
once wanted to pay me to play a tournament in a Pikachu suit, and they were even gonna pay for the Pikachu suit, and I declined, which is one of the biggest regrets of my life.
Yeah, wow. That's our other occasional commentator partner, Rakdos, would have been all over that, I'm sure. He once wore a shark costume to Nerd Rage coverage
I
for
mean,
Shark
yeah,
Typhoon. So yeah, Pikachu, yeah, and Becky Bell who'll be here this afternoon. She would be all about that as well. As an attack for 14 comes across here, and Ashton Johnson could absorb all of this, but it's a little dicey at that point. Well,
yeah. I think at least the block on the Shardless Agent like last turn is rather free, and that way also you don't open yourself up to any kind of like fire ice ending the game for you.
Yeah, you can see Fire
So
Ice is in Steven's hand. All the interaction in the Rhinos deck cannot cost less than 3, technically, even if virtually it does, as like Fire Ice and Dead Gone, both split cards that get around the Cascade issue, as Walroots here does take 2 damage from Dead, and combined with Shardless Agent, that is enough to actually kill the Walroots. I don't know what the naming nomenclature of Magic. We have a removal spell called Dead that doesn't really kill that many things.
I mean, let's not get like in the flavor of things. You know the classic, right? Remove soul and soulless one. How does it work? But yeah, here we go. So upkeep, yeah, we're just gonna basically cycle the ice to tap down one of the mana sources, which like Ashley doesn't really have a lot of to begin with. Now we won't even be able to cast Yawgmoth. Probably just like land and and scoop, yeah.
Yeah. 2 Yawgmoths in hand, unable to make it into play. All right, so the first match to be decided goes to Steven Dykman in Modern, but we've got 2 more formats being contested. So I think we're going to return to Pioneer, and then if this finishes up, we'll jump over to Legacy, where Rodney, Bedell, and Andrew Wolthius are in game 3. So we have Crackling Drake and a Jace in play here. Is this Jace Wielder of Mysteries? I believe is what that Jace is. Maybe we can bring that up.
Is that the chase that actually makes you win the game by milling yourself for the
Yes.
entire?
No,
Dude, I love that. Is it not?
Well, no, I mean, yes, that Wielder of Mysteries is. We popped up Jace Telebuth Unbound. Is that what that Jace is? I don't believe so. So the Jace that we're looking at there is the backside of the Jace creature.
Yeah. So this one, the Wheel of Mysteries, is actually the one where you win the game if you mill out your entire library.
Yeah.
So
there we
that's
go.
that's quite the statement for our deck. Like, I'm gonna draw so many cards. I'm literally gonna get to the bottom of my deck in the very end.
Yeah, and it could happen with strategic planning, pieces of the puzzle. These Phoenix decks do go pretty deep into their deck. But we've actually got a Hullbreaker Horror in play for Larry Fields, and that card is a pretty big nuisance. If you're not familiar with Pioneer, and in particular some Pioneer sideboard options, you may not have seen Hullbreaker Horror too often if you're watching at home, but this card is a huge nuisance to deal with, as any spell you cast basically can remand or bounce anything from your opponent's deck, and that is quite a lot to get through.
Yeah, that card is incredible. Like, I'm not even sure how you're supposed to get rid of that, because your opponent can match any removal spell you have with basically any instant, right?
Yeah.
This doesn't seem very fair, but in the end, like that's the whole point, right, of the deck, to get your either, like in this case, Worldspine Worm or Hullbreaker Horror into play. Even in Legacy, like I've seen people sometimes like try to make that a thing, but it's at 7 mana, it's just not working.
Right. All right.
Whereas,
So
like looking at this, I could even see it like being cast at some point.
So here's the Wielder Mysteries coming back down. Larry Fields is going to Fire Prophecy his own creature in order to bounce the Jace off the stack back to Scarlett's hand. Pretty nice trick. Also able to cycle off of the Fire Prophecy. And yeah, and this is kind of an issue that comes up with once Hullbreaker Horror is in play, it is hard to make any progress as the opponent.
Yeah, I think at this point, I guess Scarlett could try to get some Phoenixes into the graveyard and then get them into play via their trigger, because I mean, even if you do that, right, the creatures can be bounced by Hullbreaker Horror as well. This is I was gonna say an absolute horror. This is like really, this is not what you want to see on the other side of the battlefield, especially in Pioneer. Like,
No.
Is this one of the most dominant creatures that the format actually has?
Yes, it is, and it's so tough to deal with. I mean, even if you have, I mean, Scarlett obviously doesn't have something like Supreme Verdict, But Supreme Verdict, uncounterable. Hullbreaker Horror doesn't care. You just cast an opt. Oh, back to your hand. Pay 4 more mana. Cast it again. Oh, consider. Back to your hand. All right, you're dead. So here's a Treasure Cruise. So this is another issue. Although we're not going to see it here. You delve 7 cards, and then if Larry just plays a spell and the Treasure Cruise goes back to hand, Scarlett's going to have to delve all over again.
Oh my god. Yeah, I guess the entire approach in this game, I mean, it makes sense, right? It must be to stop the indomitable creativity. That card is cute. Like, I really like that this is actually a deck and not something that somebody in a rogue deck thought up, but that this is actually a deck in the format.
Yeah, I mean, this is look how many cards are in Scarlett's hand. And this Hullbreaker Horror is like, I don't care. I'm better. So Scarlett discards the hand size. Ledger Shredder in play to chump block, but Larry just has to play any spell. Thoughtseize, bang, bounce to the Ledger Shredder.
Look at the artwork. It's literally like Hullbreaker Horror going, come on, come at me. Nothing ever has been printed that will get past me.
That is basically true.
Yeah,
Okay.
we're trying to make a like opt. Yeah, sure. You can have an opt. It's like Hullbreaker Horror, but granted.
Yeah, no, okay, Spell Pierce. All right, that's.
I guess the only way to really interact with it would be like a land that has an activated ability or something. I'm not sure if that's a thing in the format.
There's just, well, not this time. There are lands that turn into creatures, but that's about it. And Larry Fields will scoop up the Pioneer match, and that will do it. I believe we can shift over to Legacy and see where things are at. But
oh yeah,
the team of Larry Fields, Steven Dykeman, and Andrew Wolthius has won 2 matches, and that is the requirement to take down a match in team event.
It looks like Mono Red Painter got there. By the way, even though we are only getting the tail end of this, Mono Red Painter, probably one of the biggest under the radar decks, if I can say that, in Modern right now. A friend of mine, Callum Smith, plays the deck. He recently just like sent me his stats for the last 190 matches he played.
Okay.
And he has a win percentage of 76% on Magic Online, which is completely out of this world, especially on Magic Online. So yeah, if you're looking for an amazing deck that's somewhat under the radar, definitely check out Imperial Mono Red Painter.
Yeah, well, maybe we'll see it later today. Yeah, I have seen that. So what? We'll have a moment here before we take a break for going into game 2. What now? Have they picked up Fable and Mirror Breaker in that deck?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So is anything else new kind of powered up the deck, or is it just is that what's made the difference?
I mean, that deck slowly, I mean, it's always been a thing, but it now slowly came together with basically every other set printing something that's high impact. Like Urza Saga was a huge addition to the deck.
Right.
Some time ago, Goblin Engineer, when it became a thing, was important. Yeah, now Fable of the Mirror Breaker is also an absolutely amazing thing. Like, looking at this deck list from Stephen, we have 3 copies of Fable of the Mirror Breaker, which sounds about right. I've even seen 4. And yeah, the deck, I think one thing that pushes it ahead right now is that people are still somewhat caught up in the idea of, oh, they will combo me. They will combo me. But a lot of times, the deck list that you see, they will play 1 or 2 grindstones. This one plays 3, and looking at it, it's a little bit more focused on the combo than others. Like, it has Lines at Diamond, for example. But to sum it up, it's super grindy right now. It's almost like I can't call it a rock deck. I wouldn't go that far, but it's incredibly grindy. And many of your matches just come from sitting there, threatening a kill, and getting there with your constructs, getting value with your engineers and your welders. And if you can push that to the limit and abuse your opponent's fear of the combo, you get so far ahead, and it's an absolute blast to play. On top of that, you get to play with like 5 or 6 blasts in the main deck, which is like
yeah, which is just so changes up all your matches, and it's like, oh, Murktide Regent, ha ha ha, and you're like, ping, get out of here. Anyway, so that's going to do it for round 1. Hope you enjoyed the coverage. We'll be back all day long. We're going to get things set up for round 2. If you have questions or comments about what's going on, or if you have questions for Julian about, what's his take on elves or anything else in Legacy going on right now, you can throw them in the chat. Maybe we'll look at them, take a minute to answer them when we come back from the break. In the meantime, we're going to step away. We'll be back with round 2. We'll be here all day long. This is Pioneer, Modern, and Legacy team event presented by Nerd Rage Gaming. Stick around.